I teach children, and I teach yoga, and I teach nonviolent communication. And I have a powerful desire to contribute to greater equity and justice in the world, and particularly what's coming to me now is race equity in this country.
Is what?
Race equity. And so in the circles that I find myself in, when I think about focusing on what I want and what I want to create and inviting others to do that with me, I'm not quite sure about how to not focus so much on what I don't want.
Well, you're jumping ahead too much, because if you could just accept for a little while that observing what you've been observing has caused a powerful desire to be in your vortex, and that if you can do the energy work first, which is just find thoughts that soothe you, thoughts like, it isn't here yet, but it's coming, and we've come so far and we will go further, and things are getting better, and things are always working out. And here's one that will challenge you just a little bit, but we want you to hear it anyway. Things are not even, but they are always fair, because law of attraction is always responding to the vibrational output. So when you accept that even in your own experience, you cannot attract for yourself around what you believe. And so it is a gradual shifting of belief that is necessary for the billions of people and the billions of requests that are in this vortex. The hardest thing to accept in what has seemed like an action-oriented world is that it isn't the action that is making it go. The hardest thing to accept in an action-oriented world is that it is vibrational, which is a different discernment, which requires emotional awareness and the ability to mold your emotions into something that feels better. And one of the hardest things ever is to witness injustice and not feel it. And so you might ask, well, if someone who was a master of alignment like Jesus, there have been so many, can look at someone who is obviously sick and not see sickness, then couldn't someone like that look at someone who is not believing in their well-being and believe in it so much that they begin to believe in it a little bit too? And that's where your work comes in. You can't look at what is and move anything beyond what is. You've got to look beyond what is manifested. And that's why we say so often, because we so much want you all to hear it and understand it and accept it and know it as we do. All of these things that you're asking for are already a vibrational reality. And that's why it's so painful to you when the now hasn't caught up with it, because the larger part of you is already over there knowing that. And when you look away from what your inner being knows at something that isn't allowing it quite yet, you feel the discord of that in such a powerful way. And as our friend was talking earlier, he had 40 years of asking and wanting and asking and asking and asking. And so it was a really strong discord that was within him. So what it comes down to is you have to not need the evidence of the improvement in order to know that the improvement is there. Sometimes we'll change the subject and just talk about something so off the subject that it disarms you a little bit. Let's talk about like wanting $500,000 for your cause, and you want it right now, but you don't believe that it's going to drop into your experience right now, and it likely is not going to drop into your experience right now, but you could find the feeling of prosperity in 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 10 minutes by focusing. And if you can consistently find the feeling of the prosperity, then the avenue to it must show itself to you. It's law. And so the money you're not going to get this red hot minute, but the feeling of prosperity and abundance you could accomplish right now. So you're not going to get the results of racial equality right now, because there are too many people involved in it that you don't have any control over and never will. But you can find the feeling of it, and if you can find the feeling of it, one who's connected to the feeling of what you want is more powerful than millions who are not. So your influence must be in the vibrational realm. What happens with so many? Oh, we're going to go into this really important conversation, because what trips most people up. So you come along whether you're hearing it from us or others, or whether you're just intuitively knowing it. Maybe you're getting it directly from your own inner resources. But let's say you've lived enough life to know what you want, and you've done a pretty good job of focusing upon what you want. You're applying your understanding of how it's a mind game, it's a vibration game, it's a focus game, it's a momentum game. And so you are someone who, for a little while at least, is distracted from the reality of what's already manifested, and you are enjoying the feeling of energy moving through you, and you're enjoying the feeling of new ideas occurring to you, and you're most of all enjoying the feeling of feeling good. So you're feeling good a lot about whatever subject you have chosen to feel good about, maybe something important like this one that is so important to you. So you've brought yourself to a place of feeling really good, and now an idea comes to you, oh, a desire that is manifested, oh, it feels so good, and you revel in it for just a little bit, and you manage to stay in step 3 4 5 3 4 5 3 4 3 4 3 4 4 4 4 4 4 4 4. So momentum is flowing, and now you're beginning to see the results of what you have wanted. You're beginning to feel it happening. You can feel it happening. And now some sort of manifestation occurs. And oh, you revel in your deliberateness. You give yourself the badge of a deliberate creator. You say, I saw contrast and I chose from the contrast and I put it in the vortex and I trusted that my inner being was tending to it, and I focused upon that and I felt it and I aligned and I got in step 3 4, step 3 4, step 3 4 4 4 4 4 4 4, and more ideas came and off I went, and I am a passionate deliberate creator, and look at what I've created. And in the moment that you look to the evidence of what you've created and then try to defend it and explain it to others, that's where you usually begin, once again, reintroducing resistance into the equation, so that you don't really allow the momentum to continue as it is capable of doing, because you have this see it, hear it, smell it, taste it, touch it habit that makes you want to look to the manifestation for the evidence of how you're doing. And if there was one thing that we could convince you of, it would be, don't create something and then need to look at it. Create it for the joy of the creation of it. Be more excited in the creating than the creation. So if you can stay excited about the creating, then you won't fall into that trap of then putting your creations up against the creations of others and weighing the value of them and trying to get others to look at your creations and understand them. If you stay in the creating mode, you will live happily ever after. That's worth thinking about. You'll feel good so much of the time, because you're not the only one. Everyone who has ever been abused or misunderstood or discounted in some way or treated unfairly has put something in that vortex. You ought to see what that vortex is, the equality that has been asked for and accomplished. And do you know, the equal opportunity of accessing non-physical energy? Do you know that no one is left out of that, and that only an individual can leave themselves out of anything? You can only do it to yourself. That's so hard to hear, because when you're feeling left out, it feels like somebody else must be responsible, because you would never do that to yourself. You would never leave yourself out of the well wishes that you desire for yourself. So somebody else must be doing it, but nobody else is doing it. And so, once you understand this process, and once you care about how you feel, and once you find the thoughts that feel best and focus there, not to create a movement and not to fix something that is broken, because that will get you every time. When you turn to fix what's broken, your attention is upon what's broken, and you lose your connection and you got nothing to give. But if you can stay focused upon the dream that you're dreaming, if you can stay focused upon what your heart tells you must be, if you can stay focused upon what the vibrational reality is already living, if you can find alignment with your inner being who knows this so powerfully, so that you're reveling in not just the progress but the beingness of it now, and that's what you're radiating outward, everywhere around you, law of attraction must demonstrate to you that. Because law of attraction cannot demonstrate to you anything that's not active in your vibration.
Okay.
So You heard her subject, but did you hear the greater context of it? It doesn't matter what the subject is that you're talking about. So this is the most significant thing that we've asked you in the leading edge evolution of this work of deliberate creation. In other words, we just offered something to this equation that we want you to take away and focus on for just a little while. You can do the work, and you are. And you can get into the zone, and you are. And you can get the impulses, and you are. And you will accomplish a manifestation. Yes, you will. Don't look at it. Don't do it for the manifestation, because that's the trap that makes you compare and then makes you feel guarded and makes you want to protect. Someone asks you, so what are you up to? Oh, I'm the creator of my own reality. Well, what are you creating? All kinds of wonderful things. Like what? I never talk about them. Well, have you created anything? Piles and piles and piles and piles of them. Like what? I'm not really interested in those piles. I'm interested in the fun I had creating the piles. That's what we're asking. But don't you have anything to show for it? Yeah, look how happy I am. No, I don't want to know how happy you are. I want to see your piles. I want to see your piles. Well, there have been lots of piles and they've been moving through my life, but truthfully, I'm not too interested in the piles that I'm creating. I'm interested in the process, the fun of creating them.